Good afternoon, Richland College.
Hi.
Hi, Richland College. You are listening to KDUX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. Pardon me. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on this show are our own, unless otherwise stated, and do not reflect the opinion of KDUX Web Radio, Richland College, or the DCCCD. And here we are again. Back. It's Wednesday. It's directly halfway through the week. And I'm going to be completely honest with you right now, ladies and gentlemen. I have never been as exhausted as I am right now recording these shows.
He dropped his cheesecake.
I dropped my cheesecake right before. Hey, what's up, Evan?
And it was his breakfast.
Yeah.
It's
nutritious.
Yeah, this is all true. I don't know why they're sharing this with you. This is all true. I dropped my cheesecake in the studio. That's not a euphemism. It's literally what happened. Okay, guys, let's begin by making introductions, and we have one especially distinguished guest, which I'm thrilled for.
Thank you.
So we'll start at the far end and work our way this way.
Okay, hi. No, not today. I'm the president of Turkey. I'm the second woman president. And I'm thrilled to be on this show, and I am looking forward to being here more.
Oh, welcome.
Wow, it's nice to meet you.
Your Eminence.
Thank you. Let's go, Maddie.
Hello, I'm Danny DeVito. I star on the television show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's cool to be here. Thank you.
As a fellow Italian, I have to say thank you for doing such great work.
Hi, my name is Siri. If you have any questions about the artificial intelligence, you can ask me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Perfect.
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm an up-and-coming detective. I'm trying to establish a career, so if anybody's interested, I'm here.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
I hear Watson is really the
Don't
the
ever
man
talk
behind
about
the
watching
man.
it. I don't bring him up around
Yeah,
me.
he broke up with him.
Yeah.
And then who's next? The ghost that back there. I gotta move the camera real quick.
No. I'm Cliff.
Cool, Cliff is
Amazing.
real. It's fine.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do research?
Yeah.
Okay. Cliff's our behind the scenes guy. We'll keep going this way. Anthony.
It's your boy, Samuel Jackson.
I'm Professor Manzi. I am the faculty advisor of this philosophy club, and we have a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Melanie Pruitt, and I work as the instructional specialist for senior capstones at RCHS on campus, and I'm also the co-advisor to Phi Theta Kappa.
Hey.
Yeah, it is honestly such an honor to have you here. You're one of my favorite people on this campus, both in terms of what you do and how well you do it. So I'm really happy. This is a coup for us as far as I'm concerned. And so thanks for being here. Today's topic, we'll kind of get right into it. It's already 2:15, is artificial intelligence, AI as it's so commonly referred to. Now, typically what we do is I open it up to see if anybody has any initial thoughts on it, or either that or we go directly into the requack. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, the requack is our recap of the Philosophy Club conversation that we had yesterday. Again, we are Thunder Ducks. Mobius is our mascot. He's a Thunder Duck named after a mathematician. The man behind the scenes is entirely in the camera. So let's do that then. Let's move on to the requack.
Oh, God.
That's
You know that
beautiful.
sound? It means it is
Beautiful.
time for the requack. So guys, as I deftly try to maneuver, gosh, I need a haircut. I look like I don't know what I look like. I look like a lost beetle. What's
I know the feeling.
the only good
Michael
one?
Cera.
I'll let you figure it out.
Michael Sarah.
I have the same birthday as Paul McCartney, so
Really?
Awesome.
I'm actually, completely invested in this.
Oh, wow.
Paul, I consider Paul McCartney to be the greatest musician of all time. Singer,
That's the
songwriter.
correct answer. Thank
Right?
you.
Thank you. I always get into these debates, Lennon versus McCartney. McCartney, I gotta tell you, it's not even a contest. I take Harrison. There you go. I take Harrison over Lennon. That might be heresy to some. Ba-da-ba-ba-da, ba-da-ba-ba-da.
That's beautiful.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. All right, so let's get into this. Now, I'll tell you what. The the trajectory that the conversation took on Tuesday yesterday was not what I anticipated. I thought it was great, and I thought the comments were very illuminating. I was surprised to see what people were so interested in. So some of y'all had a lot to say on Tuesday down there. What do you think? Who wants to kick open the conversation?
Okay, so the actual topic was phrased as, can artificial intelligence ever be considered human? And I think that when we say this, we should define what the word human is supposed to mean. And I think that on that we're saying our depth of consciousness, the fact that we can question things and reflect on life, and we're asking if artificial intelligence can ever achieve that level. So
Good.
I think that I think that people can, or the human brain is basically an organic machine. We receive our external stimuli, we process it in our minds, and we come up with a solution or a way of reacting to these things. So I can say that the brain is, in its own way, a machine. And as technology is improving and it's becoming more advanced and more advanced. What's up, cameraman?
Trying to get everybody a shot. Trying to get everybody a shot.
That's beautiful. But yeah, as technology becomes more and more advanced, you can see glimpses of something like it's coming close. And I feel like I don't know when or what time period this could happen, but I do think that technology could become confusable with a human being. That it could get into the realm of being human-like.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways it's starting to really do that intentionally, which is to say we're trying to make our robots, so to speak, our animatronics, as human, as lifelike as possible. And I think the conversation to some extent turns on that, what we understand life to be. What we understand organic versus artificial to really signify. And I think your point, Uche, is that, whether or not it's organic or it's something man-made, again, artificial, if it functions the same way, then essentially you're arguing, for a merging of some sort. And what's more, it seems like you're saying artificial life, artificial intelligence itself has always been modeled on human intelligence. And this is why the way the robots tend to operate, the way that anything cybermetric seems to operate, it's based upon humans. So it's going to be human-like, and that's because humans themselves are very mechanistic. They're very mechanical. We have our bodily processes, what Hobbes referred to as vital motions. We have our battery, which is to say our hearts. And when the battery dies, we die. So I think there is a real connection there, and I like that you're emphasizing that it's not really a problem. But not everybody saw it that way.
I think when what's important is the quote from Bible, I think, is man is a mirror, was created in the mirror image of God, right? So I think that's what humans think of as when creating robots, that they created robots in likeness of them. And when you have a robot that does not do the functionality, or at least have the same emotion as human, it becomes inhuman. It becomes something that's not like us.
Well, that's the uncanny valley phenomenon.
Yeah,
People touch on.
What is that now? The uncanny valley?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's like if you create a robot or something, and it's not inhuman enough for you to be able to say that's a robot, but it's not human or realistic enough for you to be like, that's not a robot. It's that weird
The
dip
in between.
between.
That's like why mannequins are creepy, or masks.
Are
It's a real
mannequins
thing.
creepy?
It is.
They're beautiful,
Yeah.
actually.
But stop.
The phones are lighting up, folks. Mannequins are creepy. Should we take a caller? I think. So what you're getting at? It sounds like what we might call a cyborg. Is that right? Or am I still not seeing this?
I think that's what you're getting at is that human beings think of artificial intelligence as I'm not sure what the word is, but the height of intelligence, the height of complexity of thought. You would think that humans have the goal to be immortal, and through technology, that's how we imagine ourselves evolving. There is a possibility that in the future we'll be more 90% cyborg or technology rather than human ourselves, and that's a future that a lot of people want to think of.
Yeah, well, again, I think that when people talk about robots and stuff like that, they associate it with some sort of dystopia. So this dystopian time in our history where the robots will rise up and enslave us or something along these lines. I think that connection is there, but it need not be. I think a more pressing question is what we understand intelligence to be. I mean, what is intelligence, and is intelligence something that simply cannot be computated? That it simply cannot be, I guess, constructed digitally and then implemented within some sort of mechanical, metal, artificial system. Is there something eminently human about thinking, or not?
Oh, replicating a consciousness between machine and biology, and I can see how the lines are blurred, but yeah, these that is a serious question.
I think what's important is that intelligence can just be thought processes. Like human beings have emotions and all that. They could also value into intelligence. It's just basically a chemical process in our brains. The same thing goes for robots. They just have a different way of thinking, as you say, a different way of evaluating and rationalizing. And humans are the same. It's not that they're irrational. They have a different way of evaluating things.
Yeah, see, evaluating though, that implies. I don't like this here. There we go. Anthony, if you could just duck. Look, when you say evaluating, I think that implies having some sense of meaning. So I find it. Here's what I find hard to believe is that you can program a robot to be able to make value judgments, as opposed to say, so thinking in terms of calculation and sort of reckoning, like, okay, I must do this to do this, some sort of function that you serve and how to do that. Well, you can program that into something, but I'm not sure how you program tastes or preferences.
I think you could program something to do like math, science, but you can't program them to have like emotional intelligence and like add value on things. Maybe like they can observe, but they can't put a meaning on it.
I think what's important is that right now the artificial intelligence that we call do not exist on the way we think it should exist. Like, have like adding value to some things, like the Twitter bot issue. The Twitter bot literally went online, and within maybe a few hours, it just started posting racist comments. And people say, "Oh, the Twitter bot is racist."
Yes,
no.
that is at RLC Philosophy.
No.
That is what happens.
But then it wasn't racist. It was just copying the majority of comments that were going through. It wasn't an artificial intelligence so much as it was a program to pick the most popular comment and post it. At the time, Donald Trump was the most popular comment. So
that artificial intelligence became so hateful because people were hateful.
But then it wasn't intelligence so much as it was a functionality. It was a program.
So I just want to say, it's the difference to me between being able to evaluate and interpret.
Yeah, I think that's what counts as artificial intelligence so much as a program. A program can't be counted as an artificial intelligence. It's just code.
Yeah. I love the way you put that. It has to do with interpretation and evaluation as opposed to sort of, again, calculation. Additionally, I think it has to do with this idea of having one's own opinion on something. And I don't know if you could program things to have an opinion or be able to make or formulate opinions.
I think that is a very likelihood of a future, because code can become an adaptive algorithm. Sorry.
Well, I lost it. I think, like, with artificial intelligence, it won't be able to form its own opinions. It'll just learn others' opinions or have a certain view programmed into it. So it wouldn't be able to form its own opinions. It would go based off its main programming or command that, if it's like, if it's programmed to like build houses, it'll only have opinions or formulate opinions based on building houses. So I don't think it could necessarily be human, because like construction workers, they build houses, but they go home and they vote, they have opinions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like if you don't give automated intelligence, we give the like, we usually give machines jobs, like, oh, you're programming a robot to do this, this, or this, if we start to like have them make a free roam type thing, then maybe they could get to a human point.
I think what's important to think of for especially artificial intelligence is that you're talking about a program that basically sees what other people are doing and making a decision based on what others. But you have to understand that maybe in the future, artificial intelligence can maybe evaluate situations by itself, like self-driving cars do. They see two cars coming their way, they pick a safest way out of there. It's a calculated move, but it's still thinking, right? It's processing. It's thinking about what to do.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's all having to do with calculation. And but here's the thing, a robot can build a house, but a robot then can't sit back and say, I like what I built. I like this house, or I don't like this. I don't like how it looks. See, that's what that's humanity.
I think that's taste. Yeah, you're right. It's something that cannot be integrated into programming as well.
Yeah, and look, admittedly, I know almost next to nothing about how this stuff works, how you program anything.
No one does.
I can't program a microwave, so
I don't think you program microwaves.
I don't even know if I'm using that term properly. But
it's when
What's a microwave?
it's when we write our own instructions.
Yeah, we give instructions to a program to do something
When a program can make a program.
Yeah, when a program can make a program.
I got to get with the program.
Yeah, putting taste, as something as preferences and tastes would be based on other preferences. The most likely way of entering a preference into a robot is showing a lot of these things, and the robot will probably choose the most preferred choice, and that will be its preference, but it won't be its individual taste.
Exactly, and yeah, that ties back into what Anthony was saying too. You can program it to have a certain outlook or to be able to choose, which is to say, and I'm using that term very loosely. You teach it, you don't teach it. You program it to pick to go with the majority, and that's what it does.
But
isn't that how you raise kids?
Yeah, but no, kids' preferences
Once again, I have no experience.
learn on parents', but that's not exactly. They develop their own taste as they go. But what I think is really interesting is, can we say that robots are not capable of caring? Because I want to give an example of a possibility of the show I was watching called Person of Interest, and it's based. I don't need to give the plot line, but basically, there's a man who created a machine, and the machine was responsible of protecting people by looking at government feeds and determining who was a national threat and giving their social security number to the government so they could look into it. Right. Now the man who created the machine, his name is Finch, he programmed the machine to think. He gave it an adaptive algorithm, and as the machine grew, it played chess with it. Within 20 matches, the machine started winning. And every time, basically, slowly, Finch taught the machine values. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Please continue.
I'm sorry. No,
I'm just joking. Please continue.
I was listening.
I'm being a jackass.
Jesus,
Please continue.
that was so sad, man. You're a monster.
I know.
You're a monster.
Teacher of the year.
So, okay, now I feel bad.
No. Good. It's the albatross nest all over again.
Oh God! Will you drop that?
Go on.
Okay, so the machine started learning values through Finch. It started looking at Finch as a fatherly figure, even though Finch didn't program it to do that. At one point, when Finch was crossing the road, the machine ringed his phone and told him to stop. And as soon as he stopped, a car just whizzed by him, and that's when he found out that it was a drunk driver. The machine saw that, and he saved Finch's life, even though Finch had told him specifically not to do that.
Okay, but that TV show was written by a human being.
Yes, yes, true. But it is. I'm just saying that it's
So
a
that
possibility.
human being projected onto that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the possibility of something like that happening, because in the end, it's still a possibility. Would it be normal for a machine to care for something and not have taste?
I think. Well, honestly,
If
That's
we
a great
can-
question.
Introduce
Yeah, I see
yourself.
what
Vince.
Don't give
Perkins.
your real name. Something else.
No, hey,
Do
this
whatever
is
you
No,
this is
I'm Siri. He's Sherlock Holmes.
I'm in his class, so he knows my
okay.
name.
Shut up. But who cares? I mean, Professor Matt.
Don't tell my guest to shut up.
Go ahead, introduce yourself.
He's my best
Okay,
friend.
well, Since we're doing different names of ukulele.
Nice, nice. I love it.
It's good.
Jack, can we
Favorite
cut Mike
instrument.
3?
But I think that the big problem with the robots being human is that robots may be able to think and calculate things, but I think the disconnect is whether they're able to feel in certain situations. Where, sure, in a TV show that I don't think that a robot would be able to project emotions or to be inclined to like somebody even more. I don't think robots have the capability of liking something. They
They don't have dispositions.
just have the function that they want to perform, but I don't know if there's any underlying or any hint of emotion or feeling on top of it.
And
That's what I think too, considering, like, I don't think they have feeling. I think they have miscalculation. That's what they have. So if they make a mistake, they're going to think of it as a miscalculation. They're going to adapt to the miscalculation.
Right.
It's not because they feel like it was a miscalculation. Like they say, ooh, that was bad. No. If
And
they
that-
see that it's not,
The most suitable
what they
outcome.
calculated is not projecting in a positive way, in a sense, to what they estimated, then they're going to recalculate it. And that's their projection of being sad, in a sense.
And that goes back to Blade Runner, right? Because what are they called? They're called replicants.
Yeah.
Because at best, all they can do is replicate. They can't actually experience the sensation itself. They can look at it like you said, like a miscalculation, but they're not going to go around hating themselves all day or feeling guilty.
Yeah.
They're just going to reboot and move on.
Yep.
I think what we should actually think about
That kind of sounds appealing, actually.
maybe if you have a human complexity of thought and then you have an artificial intelligence that has been programmed beautifully to have the same amount of level of thinking as human does, maybe even better, maybe emotions will never exist in artificial intelligence. Then maybe they won't have that feeling, like, you know how animals don't, like a dog and a cat have different dispositions, right? They have different reactions to society, they have different hierarchies. Maybe artificial intelligence will do the same thing, like a different species entirely.
Dogs reacting to society?
No, society as in, like, as their own society. They have a hierarchy. They
Oh,
have,
okay.
So like iRobot.
Yeah, something like iRobot. iRobot is a beautiful movie.
Yes.
And I think we should really talk about what happens in the beginning of
I've
it.
never
Oh
seen it.
no, actually,
I don't remember.
the difference between iRobot is the concept of Isaac Asimov's rules of robotics.
That's what they based the movie on, right?
That's genuinely a master slave construct for the relationship between humans and machine. If we want to do it like that, then I don't even know if we should.
I think,
like
I have a confession to make.
He's a robot.
I'm a
Are you
robot.
He's
replicant?
a
a robot Nat Turner type thing. That would be Let's not make a Terminator situation.
Let's not.
I'm a robot, and the Terminator deeply offends me. I don't want to speak about that movie ever again.
The proof that he's a robot is because every time something funny happens, he always says robotically, "That's hilarious."
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I get the same reaction from my students. Has anybody happened to have read "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" or maybe seen the original Blade Runner?
I haven't.
No.
Well,
I've seen the original Blade Runner, and my husband's read the original Philip K. Dick, but I have not read it myself.
well, okay, cool. Well, I mean, you'll get this then. I only bring it up because what's so interesting about that movie to me is that it's intentionally ambiguous as to whether or not Harrison Ford is himself a replica, and what's more, he doesn't know if he is or not, and that's kind of because his job is to hunt and kill certain dangerous replicas, and whether or not he himself has been programmed to do that or he's a human being, but he thinks he's a human being, but there are times where it seems like maybe he isn't. That ambiguity, I think, plays really well. I don't know if they carried it over to the new version of Blade Runner. I haven't seen it, but I bring that up for the following reason. The reason robots aren't emotional, we might say, or moody, I was going to say originally, is because, well, bracketing the question of whether or not we can actually make them such, would we even want to make them such? Because it seems like if we program some sort of robot or computer to perform certain tasks or functions, its emotions could only hinder its progress. So you want it to be perfectly rational, and emotions sometimes tend to cause irrationality and mistakes.
I would think that if you create a robot that is advanced enough to have emotion, that would be the goal. Not, it wouldn't be like you wouldn't like make a printer that could feel sad. You'd make a machine for the sake of it feeling emotions. I feel like that would be the scientific feat instead of it. I think that would be the entire function of the machine, just so it could feel.
But like, what's important?
That's a fair point.
What's if you see in a modern day society, every government position calls for you to not be linked to your client who is maybe have familial bonds. Like maybe in like if you're a detective, you're not allowed to handle a case that might involve your family member because you might be irrational, right? Our society is making us less and less reliant on emotions because you cannot rely on emotions. How can we say that maybe that's the goal of humanity, to remove emotion altogether?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Enlightenment thinkers would argue for that kind of thing.
Watch the movie The Giver. It's all about that.
I read that book. And
It's about the removal of emotion from society.
Yeah.
And colors.
Going back onto your thing saying how the scientific goal is for robots to have emotion. If they have emotion, wouldn't it conflict with all their calculations if you think about it?
Yeah.
Because if they have emotion, think about it. With humans,
Emotions.
when we're born, we're not actually born with emotion. We learn emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you program them to have emotions, how are you going to program them to have emotions when they actually go out in the real world and then they experience things? How will they react? They're going to react like a baby because they don't know how to react.
Oh yeah, they'd have to
See,
learn how to handle.
They have
their
to learn
emotions.
how to handle
That's
their
interesting.
emotions.
See, yeah.
Do you want to go ahead?
No, you
I
finish.
second that emotion.
So if they continue to keep learning about the emotions, they're going to forget about the calculations, and then once they learn everything, and then they're going to think about the calculations, it's going to be like they're basically an adolescent teenager.
You know what they'll be? They'll be bad robots.
Can I
They'll be
respond
bad.
to that really
They'll be
quick?
bad at what they do.
Emotions can lead to irrational decisions. I disagree. I think crying because you're helpless, like that is, it's I don't know what kind of response that is, but it's the one we're doing from birth, right? It's I don't know.
Have you guys watched what's it called?
Yes.
That Marvel show.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, where like Ada gains
Ada.
all. Gains
See,
all
when Ada, like, if you watch that, Ada, she wanted to feel like what it was like to be human, and once she like got what she wanted, she experienced so many emotions in one day.
We talked
Shout out
about
emotions.
this
That probably overwhelmed
call,
her?
we
And it
talked about
overwhelmed
last
her.
time.
It overwhelmed her to the point where she basically just
wanted to kill everything.
not just that, she reverted back
Into a
to
robot.
her robotic calculator's state, and saying that the only way to stop these feelings is to remove the thing that's making her feel that way, which means kill everything.
Mhm.
So
Oh my
that's
gosh.
That's a drastic response. Well, let me say this. I want to get back to this this thing that Uche said here about. I'm sorry. Who are you today?
I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. That's right. This thing
Come on.
Sherlock said about the function of a robot that feels would be simply to verify that we're capable of producing such a thing. But let's apply it to last week's topic of friendship. So if you identify that the function that a certain appliance or program, whatever, what have you, robots was what we're calling it, if the function of a robot would be to be a friend, literally just like a buddy, like a pal. You imagine that in order to accomplish that task, it would have to be capable of things like empathy, sympathy, things along these lines, emotions. It'd have to have
Or at least
an
recognizing
EQ.
emotions.
Yeah, be able to. Yeah, okay. At least recognize. Your dog might recognize when you're in a bad mood or
Yeah.
not. Well, I wonder if such a thing is in a weird way paradoxical. The best kind of friend that you can make a robot would be a flawed friend, because qualities of friendship would require this sort of emotional, dare I say, human quality that, of course, leaves you flawed and vulnerable and irrational.
But haven't we turned our phones into our friends on this to a certain degree?
Have
There-
we?
There is a serious
Maybe.
lifestyle that people live in Japan where they actually
Triggered.
Shout out Japan.
No, like it's no no seriously, they have girlfriends on their phones.
Me too.
Like,
Oh yeah, have you heard of the Japanese guy that married an anime character?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
somewhere on who. Yeah, no, it's like
It's true.
I'm talking about something else. It's a serious. It's a popular game in Japan. Well, it's not even a game. It's an actual like an artificial. It's something that resembles. They just that I don't even know. It's a dating game though.
Okay, yeah, I think I see what you mean. I was not familiar with that.
Somewhere on Hulu, y'all find it. I don't even remember.
It's on Hulu.
God.
Well, okay, so listen, that's one thing if you talk about feelings of like love. But and that's where things can get very difficult because you project certain aspects onto something. But I'm more concerned with literally like a brobot. Yeah,
Like her,
That's cool.
like
a
the movie Her.
brobot. Trademark brobot.
I think that if the function of the robot would be to be friends with the person, I think that the robot, from the human's perspective, if the robot learns to perceive emotions, if the robot learns the concept or what's going on in the person's life, I think the robot can give good responses to make the human feel like they're really friends, but I think that it would just be responses. I don't think it would be genuinely, I'm friends with this person.
Like generally
So
care
what
for
you-
you. It'll care for your well-being, but not actually care for you.
It would
Like-
care for achieving its goal.
like taking care of you. Yeah, physically taking
What
care
it-
of your mental state and your physical body, but not actually thinking about you. Like
it
when
would-
not missing you when you're gone and stuff like that.
But it would really be like a friend that's just like a mirror of yourself, because
Exactly.
that's what that really is.
Exactly.
Well,
It'll
since-
it'll share it'll share your interests, it'll share your hobbies, it'll share your favorite food and everything. It'll care for your well-being, but it won't
But
miss
would you really
when
call
you're
that a
gone.
friend?
Would you?
miss you
Yeah.
when you're gone. You know.
Why
Yeah.
not? You're
No,
the
I mean, you
source of
never
its
said that.
goal.
No, it's not a me-seek. It's not. Its goal
It's
is
not
to
a
take care of you.
What's a music?
Do you not know?
You
what a
do you not watch
Oh,
Rick and Morty?
But,
Okay.
like
okay, I'm
humans
sorry.
are all flawed. Like nobody's perfect, and
Mm-hmm.
robots are kind of designed to do their job, right?
to be perfect
So-
in a way.
So if a robot were to actually be your friend, then it would want to, like we discussed last week, it would want to better you. It wouldn't. Well, I feel like the robot would want to better you. Like it wouldn't want you feeling complacent. So I feel like the brobot would be would be overcritical of your character or behavior because it's your friend. It's trying to make you a better person.
He just made the air quotes, just saying. But if you think of it, it'll like the way you say it's gonna do. What it's gonna do is that it will choose the best possible outcome for your future and drive you towards it, thinking it's the best for you. But is that what you want?
Isn't that what our progenitors do?
Exactly. Wouldn't it be more of a parent than a friend?
Boom.
But
Well, okay. Let me say this though. I think that the problem is if how to put this, conflict is something I think that is essential to a friendship, and not I don't mean like physical conflict or things along those lines, but when you share perspectives and you share passions and you know you reveal what means the most to you, which is to say you reveal who you really are to a person. Sometimes there's going to be disagreements on certain issues that you both maybe feel really strongly about, and that helps to enrich the friendship. If you befriend a robot, I like how you put it, just a mirror. Melanie, I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
If you assemble and program your own friends, you're never gonna come into conflict, and it's gonna be a very one-sided, one-dimensional relationship.
Can I'm sure it's possible, just not in the near future. Can artificial intelligences see themselves, or let alone have self-awareness? Can they see themselves in a collective perspective? That's another way to place value upon anything, on life.
Yeah.
Or will they just see biology as a power source, like the Matrix?
Oh gosh.
Cliff is like God. You just hear his voice and everybody's listening. It's just like, anyways. No, I think there's a lot to consider there. There's a lot to unpack. What? Yeah, no, please.
I would think that I don't know if necessarily if the robot would be exactly a mirror of somebody. I would think that if the robot's designed to be your friend, and it's designed to, I guess, to be your friend is to like make sure the other person's happy or feeling good. I would think that if you're sitting in a room conversing with the robot, you say, "Hey, how was your day?" Or the robot asks you how your day was. You say, "Oh, it was pretty sad. My girlfriend broke up with me." I would think that the robot would process.
I'm sorry,
Like,
Uche.
I think the robot would process.
Sorry, Sherlock.
Yeah, Sherlock, dude.
Oh,
come
my
on.
bad.
I think the robot would process all potential responses to it and give the best response that might make you feel well based off its experience with you. I wouldn't think it would necessarily be a mirror of yourself. I would think that maybe like whenever you're feeling low, it will try to bring you back up, or even a response could.
But that's what you wanted to
but-
do.
Yes, but
But-
that's what you wanted to
But
do.
would the
so-
robot
Yeah.
say, well, that's what you get for being such a jerk to her? With the robot, in other words, because your real friend is gonna, go, dude, it's on you, right?
But, like,
would your
he's not real, it's
robot
a robot.
friend, try to elevate you, or would your I don't know. Because I just
depends.
think,
How it's programmed.
Yeah, it depends on how it's programmed.
again, it depends on how it's
Based
programmed, and
on
why
the
would you
image of it.
program it to be something I'm not going to say on the air?
I kind of want to ask a question to all of
We'll
you.
just call it a Raul.
Oh no, Raul! Shout out Raul.
I remember when I unplugged Raul because he was a robot.
I am a
Dirtbag.
robot guy.
There you go.
Really?
Actually, yes. You want to see my circuit? Get
No.
in. I'm kidding.
Well, Uche,
the name of the name of the robot from iRobot was Sunny.
Uche.
Sunny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Sunny.
Sunny.
That's my sister's name, so that's no good.
Oh, gosh.
okay.
Your sister's a robot. Just saying.
my girlfriend's father's name. I'll say this, Uche, to you. I wonder if it's even beside the point. Because here's the thing. If you're sitting there, it's 2:30 in the morning, you're all alone, your heart's broken, and you go, Siri, do you love me?
No.
And Siri goes, Jeffrey,
Yes, Dave.
yeah,
I do love you.
I love you. I know it's BS. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know it's
How
not
do
a
you know
real
it's
sentiment,
BS?
so it's
No,
not.
I
How's it
think
gonna
Siri.
comfort me?
How do
think
you
Siri
know
would
it's
say,
BS?
"No,
Because I
Jay.
can't
I have
love."
warm feelings for
Because,
you."
like, in the end of the day, when you're friending a
True.
robot, there's just that
Yeah.
feeling.
You're at the
that
end of the
you-
road.
Like, there's just that feeling that you know that it's a robot. No
Yeah.
matter what no matter what the robot says, you know it's a robot. So even if it tries to comfort you, there's just that. I guess it's just
Can I-
that feeling.
It's
that
like when
you
your mom
know-
says you're pretty. Like when you know
That
you're
was
actually
You
not.
just know that it's like say the robot's trying to comfort you, and then you're looking at the robot and you say, "I know you're saying these things, but you're
just
not
programmed.
real.
You're not
You're
sincere.
You're not real." It's like
But it's
What if
2
in a-
a.m.,
if a
so I'll
situ-
settle.
If a situation, like, what if a robot is designed? So say I die and I have a best friend, and a robot is designed. It's completely mirrored off of me. It is a robot version of me. Acts exactly like me. Looks exactly like me. And this robot comes and beats this and is this guy's friend. Would you say that that's an ingenuine friendship? If that's would you say that that's a fake friendship?
Does your best friend know that you
That's
died?
That's just
Does it matter or not?
Watson
Yeah,
doesn't
Because
that's
care.
bad.
it's essentially still, my personality is still living in a physical form of me.
that's
Okay, but
another
if your
person.
best friend-
That's a
But if your best friend knows that you're dead, rather than being tricked into
Yeah.
what if he doesn't know that you're dead and he just thinks it's you?
Mm-hmm.
But your
And, like, the robot has
consciousness
all your
is still
memories and
alive. Your
sentiments and whatnot.
Okay,
your
I'm dead.
sentiments.
Oh,
Are,
he knows I'm dead.
This is
I'm a robot, guys. I died yesterday.
this is the AI version of that question about if the tree falls in the forest and no one is there
Right.
to hear it, does it
Yeah.
still make a sound? It's mind-boggling.
I
Yeah.
actually have a similar question. I'm sorry, Professor Manzi. It's kind
That's
of
better.
Okay, it's kind of like okay, what? No, it's kind of like the trolley problem. Like if you have
I love
two
the
people.
trolley problem.
Yeah. If you have like if you have a human on both tracks, what would you choose? If you have 4 human on one, and if you have another human, on, if you like, now this question
kill
is
all of them.
no, stop, no, you
What would you
Lily, no, you're a robot. That's what a robot would say.
Oh well, that,
Okay,
that's
so let me finish
basically
the
saying what the
question.
robot would say.
Let me finish the question. Like, if you had a sentient robot, let's say, right, with a human consciousness, like it's not calculating, it's doing exactly the things that a human brain does, but in a robotic body, and you have a robot on the other tracks. What would you choose, and why would you choose it?
So the two options are a very advanced robot that is just like a human.
Just has a human brain, but a robotic body.
And then
So an
on the
android.
other track is a
Human.
human.
So
I think you said the
still
human.
Both are 50-50, honestly.
That's
think-
still the question of how we program intelligence to value life, right?
Yeah.
No, but then the thing is, I think what I liked this other person said at the club was that they would choose the human not because they have anything against the robot that it's not unnatural. It's that you would choose your own kind over the robot, and that kind of begs the question that even if there has a human consciousness, the fact that at what point does a body become unnatural or robotic? Even
Well,
if it does have a human consciousness, it's still a human.
Exactly.
Well, if you put, like you said, it's a robot with a human's brain in it.
Yeah, human
Well,
consciousness.
it sounds like that human already died. So, like,
Yep.
why should that
That
entity be
But what if
giving
it just
given
got
a second
replaced?
chance
To be
at
honest,
life
if
over
he-
the
if he
human that
gets-
hasn't experienced its full
Well,
life
what if
yet?
it's
Remember-
if he
cancer?
dies, he can just be recreated again if the brain is intact.
exactly.
So,
Everybody remember, as Ghost in the Shell or in Soma, y'all need to watch
Yeah,
Ghost in the
Watch
Shell.
Ghost in the
You're the
Shell.
ghost in the
the,
shell today.
the anime, not the movie.
Yeah.
The movie's crap.
Yes,
The movie is crap.
Sorry, my friend.
especially the
Shell crap.
Cell animated version. It's the graphics matter, okay?
I like
and
Scarlet-
and
I like Scarlet Johansson.
if these are all based questions in how that consciousness when they interact, they and reproduce. These are how these are the blurred lines when between the consciousness in the form of wetware. Straight up electronics or straight up biology, neurology.
Yeah, and I want to especially emphasize when the two combine, like in Uche's example. What happens?
Sherlock.
And Sherlock. Thank you. You're on point. Is
I'm serious.
oh gosh, I'm so professional. I do that like once at least an episode. Where I just, anyways, it's like this. What happens? And this is something that we're actually pursuing, and we're throwing lots of grant money towards it. What happens when we, if it hasn't already happened, we develop the ability to download an entire individual consciousness, an individual life, memories, past, present, and future, download it onto a new organic hard drive. What's up? 315. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for coming. So the thing is this: it's basically an enhancing of Uche's example or Sherlock's example here, where, okay, what if every time you're about to die, you're on your deathbed, they find a way to literally upload all of your thoughts, dreams, emotions, consciousness, personality, and put it in a different body that also looks just like you, but it is in fact an organic human body where you feel pain and you feel pleasure.
My name
Is that wrong though?
my name
That's
is
the
now
question.
my name is now Johnny Depp, and y'all need to watch Transcendent, where that's exactly what happens. Is like he yeah.
I don't think it would be wrong in the sense
I
that
don't think it would be wrong either.
because if you take the example of a genius, right, and if he did cure
I'm right
cancer,
here.
or if he could cure other diseases, wouldn't you want him to live longer?
Yeah, I think, and that was the whole modern enterprise. That was Rene Descartes. That was the thing: is
Yeah.
master physics, master nature, so that we can sap her of her resources, so that we can live really forever.
So,
But I
so if you think about it, isn't the goal? I'm sorry, isn't the goal?
I hate
sorry,
you.
Sherlock
do
Holmes, you're
too.
just a robot. Isn't the goal of all human
racist.
life to become immortal? Right?
Well,
I would buy you if you were a brobot.
Well,
Any one
Thank
of
you.
He's not a slave.
Okay.
Black
can't
Friday.
buy
That's not how I meant it.
I'll be on
Triggered.
discount.
But you buy robots. You buy appliances.
You're not
That's a
going
big
to buy
difference between
him.
humans and robots, I would say.
Actually, that's unless robots are given enough senses and can feel pain
And given
and
rights.
are self-aware and
Exactly.
all of that. Because I don't know if y'all listen to. Can I plug another radio station here?
Yeah, of course.
KERA is Chris. I think Chris Boyd. They were talking to somebody who. Never mind. Yeah, I'll get back to you about
I thought
it.
Jack actually cut your mic for plugging that.
But hold on. Back on Manzi's proposal, if a person were to die and their consciousness, personality, experiences could be uploaded maybe onto a screen like a computer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
anyone could come and visit that screen, would you still and have a conversation with it? Would you consider yourself talking to that person, or would?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can make the decision. But what if, because, for example, I don't remember the name of the show, but in this case, they did invent something like
I
that,
watch a
right?
lot of TV.
You do.
I
You're
do.
plugging a lot of TV shows.
Okay, so there are a lot of I love the discussion about artificial intelligence because it's my zone. Anyways, so
Don't
they
worry,
they
it's
did
my zone.
create they took human memory, their thought processes, the way they came to decision, and put it in a sort of a brain that functions on its own. But the only difference was the only time it would ever think or process thought was when it was asked a question. Is that still thinking? Are you still alive?
No, it's basically a magic 8-ball.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go back to this idea of immortality, where you before you die, you download your consciousness to a new body.
Oh, I thought it was before you die, you see the ring. Sorry.
What's his name? Physics.
Professor sorry.
The guy who discovered physics.
Newton?
Yes, Newton.
Guy who
Thank
discovered
you.
Physics.
Oh yeah.
The
Thank
Philosophy
you.
Club radio.
Okay, so like him, he got really depressed after he discovered, the Apple thing.
Yeah.
He got really depressed because he, in his later years of life, because I guess he peaked too early. So if you have all these people who cure cancer, cure this, cure that, and you have them continuously living, I feel like society would get less, I want to say kind of productive in a way, because what if they can't top that and they're just like he did, kind of just depressed because,
Jaded.
I did this, but what's the rest of my life gonna do? I mean, what's the rest of my life gonna be about?
Yeah. I don't think robots can ever ask themselves that question.
Well,
I mean,
What
if
is
you're
life?
download-
What is my purpose?
Well, if you're downloading your own consciousness into a robot, then
we are still going to contemplate existence, whether and no matter what state our minds are in.
No,
aren't we?
I think that's true. But I think the difference is that part of your memories and your whole personality, your whole consciousness, they're memories of what it's like to be embodied. Your understanding of the world, your access to the world is through a human organic body. And so it's going to be fundamentally different if you have your human mind in a robot's body. It's going to be a completely different, qualitatively speaking, a different kind of experience. So it's like, are you still the same person? I would say absolutely not.
You think so?
But yeah, because the way you're experiencing the world is,
What about
is different.
You're
a
right.
person? What if a person loses
you.
his arm? He's not the same person he was the day before.
No, he's not, but he still has a body.
No,
It's-
but
That
I
doesn't
think what
change the-
Professor Manz is getting at, that we're never the same person like we were a second ago. We are constantly always changing. So as a change as big as removing your consciousness and placing it in a different body will definitely change your thought process, because it's like moving to a different country. You're changing when you are.
It'd be like this. It'd be like if you had to walk around with something maybe like a prosthetic limb, where you're going to notice it's different from your other leg.
And you're gonna
you have
react
to
differently
You're going to
to it.
react differently. You're going to experience the world differently through it. So I don't think it's human experience anymore.
But I'm not saying
Really? Do you really?
I don't
I-
think
I-
It's an
it can
80%
be
human
semi-human.
experience.
It can
But
be
not completely.
semi-human. It's not completely human, but it's something.
It's artificial.
It's sure it is. It's something more
Maybe
than just
think
being
people
human
process
anymore,
it
because we
too.
haven't done anything like that ever. We haven't come up with a name for an experience like that. The most closest synonym to that word would be an out-of-body experience, literally.
I would think that the human
That's true.
experience comes from the mind itself and not the body.
Yes,
And
it does.
maybe the reason that the body is so tied to the human experience is because we experience things through a human body.
It's like a
That's what
channel.
I've been saying. Yeah.
I think that
Yes,
is-
you
that's
have.
what y'all have been saying. But I feel like, well, yeah, it would be hard to call it a human experience. But I feel like it would just be like getting used to having a different body. Like the way if a person has a prosthetic leg, they have to
But-
get used to the prosthetic leg. But I think that they would still be the same person in essence or at the core. I don't think that their preferences would
They'd be a
change.
cyborg.
Well, what about the whole concept of death? Oh, we got a frozen screen, Jack.
The concept.
Actually, I think I
That's
saw.
the best I've ever looked on this
Let me
podcast.
see if I can. Hold up. Wait.
That's hilarious.
Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, try to
John,
find
concept
Jack.
of death.
Okay.
'Cause last time this happened, we lost the whole episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Concept of death.
Let's just keep talking about it then.
Mm.
I actually wanted to talk about how it would be if a robot died, right? Because if you take again, maybe it's just maybe it's just the fact that the show was created by a human. That's why it gave that feeling to a robot, to the program. But what if you take a program and it had a set function that, like the ping pong match, it had to win, and the worst outcome would be for it to lose. All right, and in the ping pong match, you want to go explain that one?
Okay, so the Pong match. It's
Ping pong.
basically like the
My bad.
first video game ever created, where it was the one rectangle hits a block and it goes into the other rectangle, and it's kind of like a tennis match. But the backstory is there was a robot designed to be the best Pong player, and I think it was like another person who was the best Pong player, a human who was the best Pong player versus a robot that was supposed to never lose. And they were playing this match, and interestingly enough, it was a tie game, and the human did a move where he was about to win, and he was about to beat the unbeatable Pong machine.
Thanks.
And the Pong machine ended up doing something that no one would have ever imagined it to do. When it was about to lose, the Pong machine paused the game. So,
That's right.
Yeah, the Pong machine paused the game, so it leaves
Sore loser.
I didn't lose though.
the idea that the Pong machine did not want to lose the game. It had a desire, and that it did not.
It
want
wasn't a
to lose.
desire
It flipped
per
the
se.
table over.
No, it wasn't a desire per se, but it was a functionality that it was either win or don't lose.
But it's not even a win. It's
But
complete the
that's
task.
the thing. It found a third option to have the result between it, and the programmers never put into the Pong's programming that you can pause the game if you're not winning. And it found it. It actually found it because it never did that before, right? So, what we should talk about is this learning process, or like this wanting to never end the program, because if the dude beat the machine, its program would end essentially, right? It's done. It just did something that would annul its entire program sequence. So it essentially it was a very indirect will to survive, or at least survival instinct, right? And I know it's really far fetched, but I can't come up with a better word for it, phrasing for it. It's kind
Well,
of
I think that's interesting, because I think all we know how to do is relate it back to the human experience.
yeah.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a will to survive. It's something that it doesn't want to get the end outcome that may delete its program.
Well, does the program not end if it also wins?
No, but it's, yeah, it will.
Oh.
Yeah.
It
So
accomplishes the
No,
task.
but it's just,
okay.
it's a favorable outcome. They put in as the winning as a favorable outcome. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Keep going. Keep going.
And losing was an unfavorable.
Shut up.
Who raised you?
I,
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I'm a joke.
No, you're doing great.
I'm a joke. No, you're not.
Okay,
Not
so
at all.
The podcast might be, but
no, because I think
Not even a
losing was an unfavorable outcome put
Uh-huh.
in by the programmers, and winning was the favorable. Losing was something that they said avoid at all costs, right? And winning was something that they're like, okay, it's okay if you win this. That's why.
It's okay if you win.
it's okay if you win.
We need to get some.
like,
We need to get some machine learning professors on the phone.
Okay, well, like, it depends on how it was programmed. Because if it was programmed, you always have to win, then
Kind robot.
it doesn't accomplish its goal by pausing the game. But if its programming was don't lose under any circumstance,
right.
then pausing the game would
Make sense.
accomplish
would
it,
make
yeah.
sense.
It would-
it would
be
accomplish
logical.
its goal because it never lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, a machine doesn't know what it means to win or lose.
The-
It knows what it means to succeed or fail at a task.
Okay, one more criteria for an artificial intelligence is self-preservation. The instinct of self-preservation.
Thank you for giving me
Is-
that word. I couldn't come up with it. Self-preservation. That's what
But
some
I
of
don't-
programs do.
I don't think
Machines don't-
programs.
They don't have
like,
a sense of
the-
self.
Yeah, they don't have a sense of self.
You're
They
right,
don't-
but like, what I wanted to talk about
They
is
can.
they
we-
may have.
it's totally
I think
possible.
it's something you can program it into. Right?
I think it's just a
Self-preservation
drive
is
to complete the task at hand.
like with enough computing
Literally
power.
a hard drive.
With just enough computing power, all the input it needs. Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind
no,
of
I
like a
just got
music
that.
in the sense that it will not want to die until it's done its duty, right?
Yeah.
this is that's the self-preservation until its duty is done.
But-
I was going to say duty.
You're still, but even then, you're still referring to it in human terms. I mean, a computer doesn't die; humans die.
No,
A
but
computer
then
runs out of
the-
energy.
No, it doesn't. Well, yeah, but
We-
the
we
program
s-
ends. The
That's not a function of life.
Well, let me throw something else out there
Oh,
your way,
sorry.
guys. And we're kind of getting at this, I think, indirectly. We got about 7 minutes left. I
Oh.
just did it again, right into the microphone.
Mhm.
What I think, okay, so you brought up Newton before. A quote from
That was
Albert
me.
Einstein is the following: "Intelligence isn't judged by knowledge, but by imagination." So, are robots capable of being creative?
No.
no.
Well, then, they'll never be human. You
No,
can't
but
have
then
any
if-
robot artists.
If you think of the word human as itself, like
Can you? Maybe you can.
Well, artists in what way? Artists in like creating an art, or artists in performing an art?
There you go.
Probably the former. Now, yeah, I suppose the latter you can program it to do
Yeah, you
something
could,
really well, like a
program
soft-played
the
piano.
best- Yeah.
That's deep.
But I think you can't have any geniuses to call back to the term. I mean,
no,
any,
but then if you think
don't we
about
call
it,
them that?
like
Let him finish. I wanted to
sorry,
finish.
I'm sorry.
Go on.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh God.
No.
Like, oh,
Well, look, guys, that was the long and short of it. Essentially, is that you can't. Can you program creativity in something?
Gosh,
Can I say
what a world it would be if you could.
Exactly. And it's
Okay.
like you can program you can it can appear as though it's creative, just like a robot can appear like it's free thinking, like it's entertaining what you just said, but it's not. It's gathering data and then spitting it back out in a performative way.
Nothing.
If
That's
you
not
think
to
of,
say it's
okay, let me
creative.
please say something, please.
That's all the time we have, guys.
Go on.
Go for it.
Okay, so if you think of music in the sense that it's just a combination of notes, right? Every music so far, like, you know, how when you have the moment that you listen to something and it sounds like it's a composition you've heard before, it's just because it has a certain set of combination that's is similar to something else, right? It's just a combination. So if you could, essentially, it could create music by just randomizing combination.
Yeah, and
Why
I'll speak to this as well real quick. There is the funniest thing online. Well, you have to be as dorky as I am, but it generates essays based on, but it's mocking. It's self-deprecating. It generates essays of a certain kind of philosophical approach to things. So you just it randomizes a bunch of words that it finds on the internet, and it spits out something. It has this really fancy title, and if you read it, it makes sense. Is that thinking? Is that creative?
words.
My
No,
husband
it's just
reads those.
randomizing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I think they're pretty amusing.
Well, in the way
How's it
that you
going?
could program something to create art, back to that, it wouldn't be art. Like
Yeah.
you said, it would be randomizing. It would be, create something that hasn't been created, and then they would just
Exactly.
they would just generate everything, and then it just loses its meaning.
Precisely.
Like, it wouldn't be artistic.
There's no original thought whatsoever, so therefore
and no
it can't be.
reflection.
And
Or
no,
there's only
that's even
original
more
thought.
important. There's no,
No
self-reflection.
feeling. And no feeling in the thought.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no meaning to what they're doing. They're doing what they've been. Look, telling your child to do something is very different from computing a robot. Computing a robot. See, that's how
Programming.
That's
a
how little I
robot.
know about
Well,
this stuff.
I wouldn't say that, because it's pretty much
Who asked you?
the
Looking forward to,
it's pretty much the same thing. You're programming your robot for a task.
Melanie
You're-
hasn't laughed once. I'm sorry. Keep going.
You're
Do
programming
what?
your robot
haven't
for a
laughed once.
task. You're telling your kid to do something. Like, if you program your robot to take out the trash, and you tell your son or daughter to take out the trash, like, what's
Well, the
that
same
word?
thing is going to happen. They'll take out the trash.
Yes.
but it's going to mean something to your kid.
That's an instruction,
think
not
so.
a.
It's called
Yeah,
slave driving.
your kid's going to know.
It's
That's
called
an
slave driving.
That's a pretty,
Okay.
yeah. That's
Calm down.
This reminds me of something that happened in class
Oh, good.
because I kind of gave my students kind of an open-ended assignment, and they're lovely children, and I love them and all that. But
Do you really?
so yeah, 100%. The
Okay.
Thoughts
thing
and prayers.
is, I knew that they wanted me to give them more than what I was willing to give. That if I had told them exactly what I wanted, then they would have gone through the motions of giving me that to complete the task, when what I was looking was for more original thought. So I deliberately left it kind of open-ended
okay.
to let them to figure it out. And that's what, and one student said that. So really, you just wanted us to figure it out. Yeah.
I like that
didn't want
approach.
to program you like a dishwasher, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's.
Although, not that there's anything wrong with being a dishwasher.
Of course not.
Uh-huh. But we're getting
I
close
once
to
was a
the
dishwasher.
3:15, which is when we have to end.
Oh,
so
okay.
there's some quick announcements for the Philosophy Club.
Yes, thank you.
At the end of Friday this week, there's going to be a fundraiser for the Philosophy Club happening in El Paso Hall and Wichita Hall. It's going to be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to be selling pizza, popcorn, sodas, and Philosophy Club T-shirts.
One of us should have thought to bring a T-shirt.
Yeah, it's very nice though. They're nice. They're nice quality.
Yeah.
But
great.
that's going to be
Take our word
happening.
for it.
That's going to be happening this Friday, Wichita Hall, El Paso Hall, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to be selling these items, so come around and buy some stuff. Support the Philosophy Club. And also, on November 28th, we're going to be having a movie showing of Melancholia. Mandy's
Yes.
seen it, so
dear.
he could give a brief
That's right.
summary of the movie.
Sure. Yeah. Melancholia is a movie came out in 2011. It's a typical end of the world premise, but it's a very different approach there too. So what you have are three characters, and going back to this distinction of meaning or significance versus arbitrary action. There's a planet that passes into our atmosphere called Melancholia. And the way the scientists have calculated it, it's going to miss Earth, but it's going to come so close by us that you're going to really be able to see it, and it's going to be a beautiful thing, and sit down and watch it with your family and stuff like that. And it's only that you find out towards the end that the scientists have miscalculated, and it's actually going to hit the Earth and kill all life on Earth. And the various ways that the main characters respond to that are deeply philosophical, deeply existential. There's one particular character. She's on the cover. What's the actress's name? I always forget her name.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
She won the Best Actress Award at the Cannes Film Festival.
Was it for this role?
I'm 99.9% certain.
Wow, that's even.
Lars von Trier.
I'll believe it because it's an incredible role. But so yeah, it's how something like that would impact you and why. I think these reasons come up. Essentially, what it does is take into consideration the idea that the world is inherently meaningless, and that the only reason we're here is purely biological, physiological processes, and the universe in no way cares about us.
Frederick Nietzsche said that.
Yes, and she embodies this Nietzschean attitude. But other characters see it differently. So it's very fascinating. It's also it'll push you towards new cinematic horizons. I want to say there's a little bit of sensitive material. It is rated R, but it's tasteful.
But
yeah, please.
she's like the great truth teller in that movie
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's only when everything seems utterly hopeless to her that she can actually feel free to be honest.
Spoiler alert. But yes, no, I think you're absolutely right, and that's a brilliant point.
I like to be right.
And yeah, so we're gonna be showing that movie November 28th, Wichita 1:15.
Yes.
That's a Tuesday from
3 to 6.
3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So tune in. The fundraiser this
Right
Friday
after the meeting.
and the movie showing on the 28th. Bueno.
Yeah, excellent, guys. And pushing forward, one more announcement I want to make for something that's happening this Friday, and there's a bit of an overlap with the fundraiser, but not great, not a great overlap. There's going to be a guest speaker as part of the philosophy department's Contemporary Issues in Philosophy and Religion lecture series. It's going to be over in let me see here. Let me pull up the information.
Sabine.
Why didn't I do this before I started talking? Why didn't I
Now
do
some
this?
smooth jazz.
Where is it? Okay, here we are, guys. Okay, so the title of the presentation is called Artificial Intelligence and Personhood. So, yes. And I'll give you a quick blurb. The scholar's name here is Dr. Davis, and he writes, artificially intelligent agents are increasingly being granted more autonomous latitude, allowing them broad decision-making scope. So literally exactly what we were talking about today. In fact, recently a world government has bestowed an artificial intelligence with legal citizenship.
I saw that.
I had not seen that. This talk explores the boundaries with which we view the personhood of machines. It's so spot on the topic. So if you find this episode interesting, or this theme as well, explore it. Come hang out at the Philosophy Club, grab a slice of pizza, buy 2 or 4 T-shirts, and then we can all go check it out.
Each T-shirt is $10. So just saying.
$15.
$15. So yeah,
$20.
two or four T-shirts.
Did I say 15? I'm in 225.
35.
Exactly. So that's going
auctioning
to take place. And
Going once, going twice.
yes,
Mhm.
it will be in Wichita 115 at 12:30 p.m. on Friday, November 17th. Also, the following the Tuesday after that. So if that's the 17th, what is that Tuesday? The 21st, I want to say.
Something.
18. Yeah. So the 21st, from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, which is when the Philosophy Club meets. There's going to be our classic philosophy and art collaboration. So students in the art department will have all semester been working on paintings, or not necessarily paintings, visual works of art, as a way of representing a different aphorism found in Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, these students don't necessarily have any background in philosophy. They're given a brief excerpt, a very powerful one, and there's a few from which they can choose, and then from there, they seek to, again, give it visual life, give it artistic form. The philosophy students come and they consider the artist's representation thereof, and the artists stop and they read their artist statement, and it's a really healthy, really interesting dialogue, and it's so cool to cross-pollinate in that way, especially things like philosophy and art really are great dialogue partners, I think. So the Philosophy Club will have something to do with that as well. We'll be checking it out before going back and talking about it. Yeah. I think that's all I got on the agenda for now. There's some more things on the horizon, but that's enough.
Enough.
I feel it's enough commercials. That was your commercial break.
Okay.
Well, we got to go. So, guys, let me say this: the Philosophy Club Radio Hour is an extension of the Philosophy Club. The Philosophy Club proper meets every Tuesday from 2 to 3 p.m. in room EO 76. Although next semester it'll be EO, or next semester rather,
Wednesday, right?
next week will be EO 12. You are listening to, again, KDUX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on this show are our own unless otherwise stated and do not reflect the opinion of KDUX Web Radio, Richland College, or the DCCCD. And, guys, I want to thank my guests. This was a really awesome conversation, I would say. And, well, I mean, I was
You're
involved in
very
it, so yeah. But I especially want to thank Melanie for coming. Melanie, come back anytime. This is
Thanks, Melanie.
yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Melanie.
you, Melanie.
If you want to be co-host, oh wait, I'm sorry, Uche.
Sherlock Holmes.
I am host. You're co-host.
May I also make an announcement on behalf of another organization?
Do we
No,
have
if you first.
Slip
Go ahead.
sneaking it in there.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go for it.
The Black Students Association and the Office of Cultural Diversity.
Oh, yeah.
They're planning a screening of Get Out. If you've
Really?
ever heard of next semester, if you're ever in February, if you ever if you have not seen Jordan, if you are aware of who Jordan Peele or Key and Peele from
Yeah.
Comedy
Oh,
Central.
movie showing?
Yeah, Jordan Peele wrote Get Out, and it was pretty awesome. So
He wrote that. Get out.
Yeah, come if you have not seen it yet, please contact me. The Black Student Acts Association.
Yeah, aren't you
RLCBLK everywhere.
aren't you guys having a fundraiser as well this week?
Yes, tomorrow,
Mm.
more from 11 to 3 in El Paso Hall.
Cool. So yeah, support them. I mean, if you can only support one fundraiser, obviously go with the Philosophy Club. But support us both. I mean, pizza, $2 a slice. You can't beat that. Not even Subway can beat that. All right, y'all.
That's garbage.
That's garbage.
Thanks a lot for listening. We only have a couple episodes left, I'll just say as well. I mean, we've got, I think, 2 left?
We're running out of time.
We're running out of
We gotta go-
time. You'll never
We're
see
actually
me
over
again
time.
after
All right,
Pause
we
the
gotta go.
game.
Yeah,
Pause
stay,
the
stay
game.
tuned for Rock Shop next, and think about it.
Think about it.
All right.